Hey, this is part 2 for today for Friday, November 1st, 2013 is GGN. My website is ggnonline.net, and on YouTube my channels are ddarko2012 and ddarko2013. This first article, I'm not going to go through it all because it's just, it's really kind of boring. It's a defense type article. It's not even an article, it's a PDF file, and it's basically on mind control. It's pretty simple, how to manage cultures. But they use all kind of technical words, you know. DoD Socio-Cultural Behavioral Analysis and Modeling Technologies Presentation. It was given 2013 Pacific Operational Science and Technology Conference. Alright, so you can go in here and you can see all the terms. I'm talking about cross-domain capability tools. Develop computational models that will support forecasting at the strategic, operational, and tactical levels. Integrate models into software tools and assist in considering human terrain factors. Oh, human terrain. So, but they got the whole thing. Monitor and forecast in real time, destabilizing events in the commander's area of responsibility and identify key drivers to instability. So, their sentiment analysis. Just give you a few examples here. These are all corporations, including universities. Develop data methods and models for relating extremist and insurgent communication to decision-making and behavior, developing instruments to collect data on penetration of Western values in 7 Mideast nations. Remember we were talking about a cultural satellite? It says develop methodology and authoring tools for simulating non-verbal behavior of virtual humans based on cultural specific social values. And it just keeps going. You have developed techniques here for sentiment towards issues of national significance and their attitudes. Develop systems to measure attitudes on issues, people, and events and monitor in real time the propagation of sentiment and ideology that impacts U.S. interests. That was from Lockheed Martin. Carnegie Mellon developed networks based on metrics for discovering change in dynamic networks, identification of emerging leaders and issues, and new trends. Develop algorithms to predict social ties. And of course they go on there, spatial temporal information, individual mobility, predictive power, traditional networks, you know, all this jargon. But you know, the reason for that is that they could just say what it is, but they don't want the hoopleheads or the sheeple, you know, catching on to it, dude. I mean, that's basically what it is. 6 years later, robust stakeholder communities. Stakeholders, you know. But it's like what somebody said in a comment board. Any people that think they're not being manipulated and controlled, the media makes fun of those who claim that. And this proves that it's being done. Zombies swarm Tokyo Tower. Why not? It's Halloween, right? At least it was. Led by a former sumo grand champion, about 1,000 beauty school students and Halloween fun seekers descended on Tokyo's tower, the Japanese capital's most iconic landmark. So, like I said, people like being brain dead, being proud, I guess, of being brain dead. They like being the zombies because they like being sucked dry and having their energy and their life force sucked from them by these vampires. And you have this LAX shooter identified. He wanted to kill TSA and pigs. Contrary to initial reports that the shooter was an off-duty NSA agent, updates have revealed that the shooter, who was reportedly still dead, although unclear if he was killed, before or after he was in the police custody, the 23-year-old, says here, he was from Pennsville, New Jersey. It says they learned that according to the law enforcement official who was briefed on the investigation, that the gunman was wearing fatigues and carrying a bag containing a handwritten note that he said he wanted to kill TSA and pigs. I mean, what's wrong with a note like that, though? You know? It says, considering the accuracy with which the news event has been broken, most of it relying on unsubstantiated and oftentimes fake Twitter sources, says it won't be surprised if the story were to change a few times more. Some of the sources are saying that they reported falsely that the former NSA chief had been shot as well. So, talking about these educational exercises aimed at school shootings. It says a continuance of questionable scared straight programs. Schools are involving kids in drills aimed at educating them on how to react to extremely rare situations. Recently, they covered a drill that involved a hijacked bus full of kids, which was, quote, diffused in front of an audience comprised mainly of educators and people holding the local PD's purse strings. It was a rousing success. If your measurement standard starts at everyone dies and tops out at no one was injured. It was portrayed as a essential bit of anti-terrorism training and educational experience for bus drivers and students. But considering it all played out in front of town officials, the ultimate purpose seemed to be nothing more than a chance for cops to play dress up and get all duded up in some underused tactical gear. They cover another bit of education aimed at, well, who knows what exactly. The new concern is the active shooter, and several schools are performing drills on site in order to train staff and children on how to react in a case of school shooting. So schools are quizzing 7th graders about political and social preferences and not hand dominance. Colorado parent is outraged after she says her 12-year-old son was given a detailed and biased political survey asking about his views on issues from healthcare to same-sex marriage. The survey was called Righty or Lefty and asked them to rank their views on a 10-point scale, with 1 being extremely liberal at the end of the scale and 10 representing extreme conservative views. So, I mean, I'm not going to read all this, but they kind of fluff it up. Liberals believe that all Americans are entitled to health care when they need it. Conservatives do believe that Americans do not believe that Americans are entitled to health care. So this is after they say that liberals believe the government should help those who cannot afford. So you don't, I guess if you're conservative or something like that, you don't give a shit about people. But then they go on to about same-sex marriage, believe that gay people should be allowed to get married. Conservatives do not believe that gay people should be married. So they kind of just set it up so that I'm just reading this. These two right here are going to kind of set it up so that you choose to be liberal. So parents were kind of stunned. Just said they were appalled. It's nobody's business what mine or my 12-year-old son's political views are. Secondly, my son does not even know half of what these issues mean after discussing with them. He says, I've noticed the entire thing is pro-liberal and con-conservative, being completely skewed towards lefty, nicey, meany conservatives ideology, which I do not approve of. The entire thing was unbalanced and unfair and inaccurate representation. It says my family is neither, and I do not appreciate you or the school trying to pawn this assignment off on students who are too young to have valuable opinions on these subjects. I guess I agree with that 50%. The other 50% is like, you know, most grown-ups don't really have many valuable opinions on these subjects, and these subjects are all wedge issues. I mean, it's not that, you know, this whole thing with gay marriage, it's about benefits. They're using the benefit system to say, oh yeah, well, you know, they allow tax breaks and married couples get tax breaks. So you got people who are not really against gay marriage. You know, the thing about it, the ethical or moral, whatever, religious thing, they're just about, well, they're getting tax benefits and they shouldn't get them. But again, if they don't believe in abortion, and they do believe that it diminishes the value of marriage in the society, then why should they be forced to pay for it? As far as healthcare goes, the whole thing's, like I said, it's about private insurance companies. Conservatives are saying this is socialism. Well, it's not socialism. It's forcing people to have private insurance. And, you know, as far as healthcare goes, it could work. I mean, people do, you know, socialism's evil. And so helping people out and instead of, you know, funding or giving tax credits to Lockheed Martin, who designed strategies on how to control cultures of people, how to create missiles and lasers to blow people up to bits, how to create computer software that will spy on people, or robots like the, you know, Cheetah botnet that will chase people down and kill them. You know, I guess we should fund that instead. Kind of like one thing or the other, you know. You know, my views have changed over the last, you know, however many years since I started to get into this, you know. It's like you want to make things better, but how are you going to make things better? And then you go through all the different, the right, the left, the blah, 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 you know, free market stuff. And ultimately, it's like once you go down the free market route as far as the economy goes, then you feel like, well, you don't really need a government anymore. As far as, you know, healthcare and helping people that are in need, if you're not willing to do that and you're all about, well, I got to worry about me, and if you don't get yours, well, then that's your own deal, you know. If you're going to go on that road, then you might as well just go to no government. But then these same people love big government in the way of blowing people up, police state, cramping down on people's personal decision making. Talking about conservatives or Republicans. And on the other side, you got people on the left who are supposed to be liberal and they're about the freedom of choice and all that, but they want to force you to pay for, you know, gays marrying or abortions or an education system that's not really educating people, it's dumbing them down. And when it all comes down to it, people, they're not really having a say. So, I mean, as long as people aren't participating in what we call a democratic system or a Republican system, as long as people don't have any say, then there's no real point in even trying to affiliate with something, with a party or even an idea, I guess. It's kind of like I've mentioned before, if people really believed in paying taxes and being a good citizen and believed in government, then in that because we were free, then they would be allowed to pay taxes into the system, and if they didn't like what was being done in their name with their money, then they could opt out and they don't have to pay taxes. But you're not allowed to do that, you know, so I mean, they'll throw you in jail or they'll kill you if you resist, so you're not free. You're not able to form your own little communities or your own society. You're not able to participate in things and decision making and stuff like that and big things. You're just left with limited choices, right or left, douche or turd, and, you know, what rabbit hole are you going to go down to and waste all of your time and energy where it goes nowhere? Obama creates climate change task force. He issued an executive order Friday creating a task force on climate preparedness and resilience. Advised the regime on how the federal government can respond to the needs of communities nationwide that are dealing with the impacts of climate change. I wonder if that's why they sprayed so much, or why it rained so much. I mean, it rained for 31 hours straight. I counted it. 31 hours straight of rain, you know? So I guess I could say a task force on weather modification side effects, right? Obama wants global teams to create more foreign investment for the United States. Global teams led by U.S. ambassadors as a way to increase foreign investment in the U.S. economy with aims of producing more jobs for the middle class. So, Obama cares about you. If there's money inside the country, then they would be able to invest internally, domestically, and create jobs themselves, but you have to go to somebody else. Well, that's a global economy. So if you have a global economy, it means that you're not going to have independent sovereign nations anymore. Gender pay gap. The numbers still don't add up. So feminist says how there's still plenty of room for progress, especially in terms of pay. But what she doesn't understand is it's about competing labor, right? So, and whatever gender is willing to work less or work for less, get paid less, you know, that drives down wages. Some say the gender wage gap is a hoax. They say it's a hoax perpetuated by radical left-wing feminist groups who simply need an issue that will get people riled up. It doesn't matter to them. Their chief grievance is a total fantasy. So it does kind of make sense what I was talking about. The unemployment rate is consistently higher among men than women. So that makes sense because if they're willing to work for less, then there's going to be more or lower unemployment for women. Food stamp cuts affect 1 in 7 Americans. Food banks are, quote, panicking over demand following welfare cut. So I have heard about the scams that go on where people are buying like Red Lobster and stuff and beer. So it's probably, you know, something that they can do about that. But it says here that they're expected to suffer an average loss of $36 a month from $275 per household benefit. So, and there's 46 million, near record 47 million Americans. Right now, they're representing those that are on the program. The cost of the program will hit $63 billion in 2013. So it almost seems like altruism, but they're right. You know, once the checks stop coming, the food stamps stop coming, that's when people are actually going to start getting hungry, and that's when they get mad. So as long as they're not starving, then everything's okay, and the current system and order keeps going. Poor people do not deserve to have kids. So this is what a caller said. I've seen these people with 1, 2, 5 children that you can't afford to feed them, don't have them. And this is where it's going to go. There's not enough jobs for people. So ultimately, if you're willing to keep going in this brave new world and keep up, you will procreate. They say, look to the Dutch on kids' life and marriage. Not getting married isn't seen as an inferior life choice. I somewhat agree with it, but for different reasons. They're right, though. It's unsustainable. The population is stable because of immigrants. Sean Pett says that Ted Cruz should be ordered to a mental institution. Mentally ill prisoners were forced from cells with pepper spray in the tapes. Some were being forced to comply with their medication orders. Thank you.